Hola, muy buenos dias. Good morning. I hope you are well, staying positive and focused on what you can control. Welcome to Cafecito con Ace. Engage in the comment section, drop in where you are tuning in from, and use this opportunity to network, connect with one another, and engage. Muy buenos dias. My name is Patricia Mota, and I serve as president and CEO of ACE, the Hispanic Alliance for Career Enhancement, a national nonprofit whose mission since 1982 is to positively impact workplace, cultivate the community of talent, providing insight, access, and support to be successful in their careers. And so thank you for all of you tuning in. And I also want to give a thank you to our Amigahood circle leaders who led a healing circle this last week, considering a lot of the challenges that we're facing in California and across the nation, where our community is going through challenging times and being targeted. And so thank you, their names Wendy Amara and Alejandra Leida, for taking time to do that. And then we do have more events coming up this next week. Cultivating Comunidad, featuring some of our jefas in business, y vida, and that's on June 25th, 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. Central Time. So please check that out. I know my colleague dropped the details here on the chat section. So please make sure to join us and engage with these amazing leaders who are going to be sharing their stories. And lastly, happy Pride Month. I know many of us are celebrating this month and Juneteenth this week specifically, and really just embracing our identidad and embracing our comunidad across with various events and programming. And so that's my little quick 2 cents. I want to make sure we engage with our amazing guest here today, Ana Flores, who is a writer, advisor, founder, and CEO emerita of We All Grow Latina, which many of you know or are getting to know for the first time as we explore her transformative journey from individual success to collective empowerment. Ana, muy buenos días. How are you today? You're on mute. Let me make sure we get you off mute.
Oh,
Hello,
there
we've
we
got
are.
folks. There we are. Muy buenos días.
I said I was just really grateful and happy, feeling really at peace being here with you right now. And yeah, we need these moments of collective gathering to remember just how important it is to connect with our hearts.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And I think that that's what's going to keep us going day by day, right? Because I know a lot of us have been facing a lot of challenges, and in community, it's where we can make sure that we're there for one another. I see Ayla, Carmen, Yatsira. I love that name. Yatsira from Florida. We got folks from Richmond, Virginia. Buenos dias, Raul, Ayla, Carmen. Thank you for joining us. All of you, feel free to engage in the chat. Sí estamos aquí con Cafecito con Ace, which means first thing is first. Ana, how do you like your cafe or your morning beverage of choice?
Okay, so when I'm home, because I prefer to prepare my cafecito at home, and I use freshly ground beans from El Salvador, preferably. I always travel back from my home country with bags of beans, cafe, and I serve it with. I just make it in a French press, and I serve it with a splash of almond milk.
Nice, nice. So shout out to our folks from El Salvador who enjoy that café también.
The best coffee.
Wonderful. I know, right? I know. Wonderful. Good morning. We're seeing folks joining in the chat. So tell us, one of the things that I love about our Cafecito con Ace is featuring stories in terms of your trajectory, how you got to where you are, because we have folks either earlier in their careers or those further along from all walks of life that are tuning in. So tell us about your cultural, your professional background, how you got to where you are today.
Bueno, as I mentioned, I am a proud Salvadorian Americana. Proud Salvadorian. I was born in Houston, Texas. My parents are from El Salvador, so I was raised primarily in El Salvador during the Civil War, which was an experience that really deeply shaped my worldview and my resilience. I spent summers in Houston with my dad and his family, so I really have spent my life just bridging those two worlds, really bicultural, bilingual, and always navigating belonging. And my career professionally, I started as a TV producer and as a content creator back in the mid 90s, totally dating myself. I started in Univision during the explosion of Latino culture and mainstream media. Think Ricky Martin's Grammy moment, for those of you who remember, Shakira's crossover. Those were the highlights. Those were the moments. So that means that I've spent nearly 30 years advocating behind the scenes for our stories and pushing for Latina
Mm.
voices to be seen, to be heard, and to be valued. And that really started in 2009 when I co-founded the blog Spanglish Baby. It was one of the first successful parenting blogs by Latinas. That led to me co-authoring my first book called Bilingual is Better. And all of this really was inspired by the need to monetize our blogs and to support our fellow blogueras in doing the same. So I founded Latina Bloggers Connect in 2010 as the very first influencer network in the world that was dedicated to Latinas, which evolved into We All Grow Latina and the Amigahood,
Mhm.
becoming the most prominent communities built by and for Latinas and dedicated to elevating their voices and creating economic opportunities through the power of sisterhood. And as you know, we grew that into a multi-million-dollar community with brand partnerships, sold out events, industry recognition. And I'm still passionate. It's who I am. I'm passionate about creating spaces where Latinas can thrive authentically without the need to code switch our identity or to dim our light. And throughout my career, I've remained committed to that motto that I created with that very first blog post in 2010 that said, when one grows, we all grow, really emphasizing
Mm.
collective success over individual achievement. And today, well, today
Yeah.
I'm dedicating myself. I write, I speak. I mean, yes, I keep evolving. And today, now that I've handed over the reins of Will Grow and Amigahood to the beautiful stewardship of HACE, I'm now dedicating myself to writing, to speaking, to building community around my new definition of success, where rest is a birthright and not a reward, and where Latina
Mhm.
leadership doesn't have to come at the cost of our well-being. And I'm doing that with my book, Done with the Hustle. That's being published next year with Harper One in English and HarperCollins in Espanol.
Well, felicidades on your
Gracias.
trajectory and your journey. And you know, because I feel like every time we talk, I ask you about that book. We're super excited about the book coming out, and of course, you know, us supporting you. And you do truly embody, for as long as I've known you, that when one grows, we all grow, because you've personally have been there, right? With ASE, right? You served on our advisory council. You've always were a phone call or text away, and we were able to collaborate on some Latina Equal Pay Day efforts here and there. And so when the time came to looking at this evolution, to bringing in the comunidad that you poured your you know, blood and sweat and tears into over to us, just because we both believed in the power of comunidad, because we both believe that this is the time and place that this comunidad has to continue to thrive and be
Yes,
there with one another. And we knew it was going to be messy, and it continues to be, because evolution, and we're figuring things out. We were able to bring some of your colleagues, right, to support us
I
along the way.
know.
And we're still in communication. So thank you for that trust. And to you know, I know we've got Ayla, Priscilla, and a lot of the circle leads that have just rolled up their sleeves. And then, of course, on the ASIS side, our Ana and Chelsea and Araceli and team, to get this going. Because of why? Because we truly believe in building comunidad. And when one grows, we all grow. Perfectly aligned with ASIS Juntos We Rise mission. So how do you continue to embed this collective growth mindsets from when you started We All Grow DNA from the beginning?
Oh my God, I love that our ethos aligns so beautifully, because who knew, right, that it was destiny that was bringing us together at the end of the day. It just all worked out
Yeah.
so beautifully. One day you and I are just going to talk about how that moment happened, because it was just so synchronistic, so divine timing, so intuitively led. And Patricia moves like a
Hmm.
beast. Like, when she wants something, she knew exactly how to connect all the dots. Um, well, from the beginning, really from day one, community was the heartbeat. Like, community has always been
Hmm.
the heartbeat. It's never been just about building a network, but it's always been about creating a safe and uplifting space. And even when I say safe right now, like, I feel that word now has it's just taken on a whole new dimension of how much we
Yeah.
need these safe spaces where Latinas not only can be seen, heard, and celebrated, but they can come together even in the moments of collective grief. And And also with, I've built always with a clear belief that our power multiplies when we rise together and not when we do it alone. As you know, I had no investors, no blueprint, and it was just a calling to build that space where Latinas could connect, also monetize. That was very important, to learn from each other and from others who share those cultural nuances, not to set ourselves aside, but to really connect from a place where only us know that is where we find each other and that we can trust each other. So when one grows, we all grow wasn't a tagline. It was always the flag. It was our standard. So every decision that we made was centered around community and not competition. And I'm saying that even though we always had a lot of fierce competition, that does move you, that does put you in a hustle mindset, but somehow it was always about how do we center ourselves back into our ethos, which is community over competition. And also the knowing that when an individual wins, right, it fuels the collective momentum. And we want to believe that that is true, that every success story that we would see would become the proof that our community really rises when any of us rises. So what we did was that we intentionally designed programs and gatherings that would actually foster and motivate that collaboration and that mentorship, which was something that we worked for a lot. And also the resource sharing, making sure that gatekeeping was not welcomed in, right? So we built trust. And with that trust, we built trust not only with the community, and also with our brand partners. And so that we knew that women would be able to show up vulnerably. And when we do, we are left seen and we feel that connection and we feel stronger and that we can continue going with our dreams. So unfortunately, these type of metrics of these growth, of this ripple effect, are really hard to quantify. So, but we know that the ripple effect is real. We know that it has been beautiful, and that we know we can see it in every mujer within your community, that when one shines, that light ripples out and reaches all of us. So really it's a mindset. It's a mindset of community that has stayed loyal, and that we have stayed loyal with, that I have stayed loyal with for over a decade. And yeah,
That's
I love
beautiful. I mean, you
growing
said a
with
lot of great things there, Ana. You talk about the intuitively led, right, in terms of how things have evolved and come to be. The other part you said, not to set, these are communities not to set ourselves aside, right? But this is a place to build and you thrive, and that starts with, the trust and really, as we also say at ASA, is that how are you leading, right, authentically and embracing the parts of who you are, so that you can lead effectively, you could influence with who you are, never compromising or changing who you are, and never excluding anyone. It's about how do we able to really hone into that for ourselves, so that we become better leaders, influencers in all spaces, right, and all, for all. But your trajectory, from going from blogger to movement leader, how has your focus on uplifting a Latina community transformed your own path and opportunities?
I love that question, because really when I really ground myself in it and I'm honest with the response, I know that lifting the Latina community didn't just shape my career, it really became my career. There was no escaping it. It was just completely who I am and what has led my evolution. Because as I mentioned, I started as a mom blogger during the 2008 recession, and I was simply looking for connection. I was looking for connection and a way to bring in income during a really difficult time for my family. But discovering other Latinas that were also sharing their truths, that were also trying to make a living creatively in this space, really showed me how this emerging digital space could democratize our voices. And we're seeing it now, right? I'm talking almost 15 years ago. But that's when my vision really expanded beyond myself. And creating space and pathways for Latinas to bridge their dreams really became the work. And that opened doors that I never could have predicted. Doors like the major brand partnerships that we've had, the thriving community of almost hundreds of thousands via all of our social media and the global impact that we've had. Invitations to speak at places like the White House, at HACE, being on the advisory board of HACE, all these meaningful media recognition, all of these things happen because I dedicated myself to being to a path that was beyond me, but it was really not the visibility for me, not as a personal gain, but because it helped me open even more doors for others. It really reinforced my core belief that the real growth comes from community and not competition.
100%. One thing I love to say is that dreams flourish when you cultivate them with community, because I similarly have found myself in places and opportunities, but because of, just being aligned with my personal mission. And we've got time here that we're running out, but I love this question. And those of you that are tuning in, feel free to join your comments or questions in the chat. But I see, Ana, one of the questions is, you lead and inspire so many of us with your beautiful messages. Share, how do you find your inspiration, and who inspires you to keep your messages and your passion fresh?
Oh, that's an amazing question. I'm also often asked, like, who are my mentors, and I swear this is not just an answer because I am so community based, but I really have always found my inspiration among every single Latina that I am blessed to be in community with day in and day out, because that is what my day continues to look like. It is connecting with so many of you. So I've always said that one of the successes of the secrets of We All Grow and the way that we build community is having our ear very close to the ground. So what that means is that I'm always listening. I'm always doing deep listening in this. I'm listening to these stories, and I'm listening to what is bringing people joy, where people are finding challenges, where people are finding expansion, what they're needing. All of that I really absorb, and that is what inspires and motivates me, and also starts creating the path for me. It's almost like this vision that I have as a trailblazer is created through everything that I bring in, through what all of you are sharing, and that I'm able to connect with through you. So it's every single one of you sharing your stories, your dreams, and that really is what moves me forward.
Yeah, sharing the stories of dreams, aspirations, and also the challenges and the barriers, right? So, one of the other questions that we have for you is, what are the specific barriers that you have been able to break for Latina entrepreneurs, content creators through We All Grow? And what are the ones that you think that we still need to break as a community, as we move this forward and continue to evolve? What are your thoughts?
Now, this is one of my favorite questions I've ever been asked, and I've been asked a lot of questions in the last 15 years. But I think this one really made me reflect, because we often we think a lot about what was missing, what we could have done better, instead of like really elevating ourselves, or elevating myself. And in this sense, for We All Grow, I think we made Latina storytelling visible. Before We All Grow, brands weren't looking for us, and platforms didn't center our voices. So because through our ecosystem, thousands of Latinas landed their firsts. They landed like their first brand deal, they landed their first book deal, their first paid speaking engagement, their first press mention. That's huge.
Not to mention, you had a few featured on Good Morning America. I don't know if
and the Today
that was
Show.
Pretty big. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been lucky to have a segment on the Today Show the last 2 years for
The
Hispanic
Today Show,
Heritage Month.
yes.
Yeah, it was incredible. We'll call in Good Morning America for the book.
I know. There we go.
I think we also normalize collaboration over competition. I love saying that. We normalize collaboration over competition in sisterhood with women. And we brought wellness into business spaces that never made room for it. We had the first wellness day back in 2018. 2018, wellness is a boom right now. It wasn't in 2018, especially not, visibly for Latinas in spaces with like having a full day conference for that. We were being told by brands that Latinas don't care about wellness. So yeah, those I feel were a lot. Some of the barriers we've broken. the ones that still stand,
Amazing
I feel
barriers
that
that you mhm.
I think that you're going to be aligned with these, sadly. Disability doesn't equal equity because
Mhm.
Latina creators were still entrepreneurs, career professionals, we're still underpaid and we're still undervalued.
Yep.
And as much as we've been putting up the good fight with Latino Equal Pay Day, joining coalitions and collaborations, with you, with Monica Ramirez, etc.,
Mhm.
it's progress hasn't been made. We're still
Yeah.
fighting for seats at the tables that we help build, especially when it comes to capital, to leadership, and to ownership, because too many of us are still building without safety nets, and that means without generational wealth, without access to capital, and without the luxury to fail.
Yeah. And that's why
And mhm.
go ahead. Go ahead, Anna. Finish your thought.
Now, and the last one, I hope that is one that I'll help make with my book, but that burnout is still the quiet
Mm.
epidemic.
Mhm.
Because we're still praised for our resilience, but we're rarely supported in our rest. And that was something that we, for a few years, at least in the world of entrepreneurship, we've been trying to create within the spaces that we were creating, and We All Grow, saying yes, we want to grow, but we want to do it in a sustainable way. And how can we start creating the narrative, shifting the narrative around that?
Yeah. I agree with all of those barriers. Unfortunately, that still Latinas, face and our community faces, and so I think that right now, with some of the challenges, unfortunately, we will see some of these gaps that are being widened, and it's up to us to be part of programs, organizations, initiatives that
Mhm.
help to close these gaps. And so I encourage all of you tuning in, whether it's part of our community or any others. There's so many great efforts that are out there to help be part of that. Whether you can support, financially, or whether it's for you personally as an entrepreneur, or efforts just to be involved. And I have my last question, and I know we've got to wrap up. And those of you tuning in, continue to engage in the chat. We're so happy to have you. This video stays here so you can continue to engage and share on other platforms, and share with folks that you think could benefit from this conversation. But Anna, you described this transition as a transformation and not a goodbye, right? Because we're gonna bring you in, and you've got things that you're working on as well. But when you look at the thousands of Latinas who found their voice through We All Grow, what does transformation mean to you personally, and what part of that legacy are you most excited to see continue with our HACE stewardship?
Ooh, so yeah, transformation. Transformation to me, it means evolving. It's
Mhm.
evolving, but without erasing what was built.
Mm,
And
mhm.
that's why I'm so grateful that we were able to leave We All Grow under ASA stewardship, under your stewardship, because like you said, instead of a goodbye, it's really a becoming.
Yep. Yeah.
And We All Grow was created by me. It was led with many other partners, an incredible woman by my side. It was never just mine. It really truly belonged to the community. And what I'm especially excited to see more like right now with the legacy, because I know that ASA shares our values, the community first,
Mhm.
culture driven, and rooted in collective progress. So I'm especially excited to see more Latinas step into leadership roles and to land more of those first time opportunities, and to feel that same I belong here moment that sparked my own journey so many years ago.
I belong here moments. So continue to break barriers for more Latinas. And thank you so much, Ana, for joining us, sharing your words of wisdom, sharing your own trajectory with us. And again, continuing to build comunidad juntas. Thank you all for tuning in. Continue to engage the conversation. And hasta la próxima. Until next time, everyone. Take care. Gracias, Ana.